Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Supermen and Lois, and this is going to be my trailer breakdown for episode 4 for this season, otherwise entitled The Inverse Method, of course, this being season 2. But yeah, let's watch the trailer.
How long I keep seeing what he's saying?
Let me help you with whatever that thing was. I have to do this on my own. You need help.
Anderson sent his team to stop this guy.
He's in no shape to fight this thing.
Maybe it's time to reconsider what you believe.
So last episode was just a doozy, especially that last third or quarter of the episode, whichever it is, just insane. Of course, we had the reveal of Bizarro. Now, it was confirmed that it's Bizarro, even if you want to exclude that final scene where it clearly shows it's Bizarro with the reverse S, even the necklace, even his eyes, even his face, just in general, it's Bizarro. And also, even at the end of the episode, when the Superman and Lois logo shows up, it's the reverse. I didn't even notice that the first time I rewatched the episode. I'm like, oh, they even reversed the Superman and Lois logo right at the end. But of course, it makes this episode extremely interesting just to see the fallout of everything involving the last episode and how everyone reacts on both sides, whether it's the military, whether it's Superman, and even what Bizarro himself gets up to. But of course, as we always do, we will quickly read over the synopsis or description for the episode, as it does tell us more about this episode than what's in the trailer, because the trailer is pretty focused on one thing, so I'll read that up. But before that, be sure throughout the video to let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions, theories, predictions, all of that. I'm always curious to read what you're looking forward to in this episode. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and you're looking forward to this episode, why not drop a like on the video to do all that? Lois and Chrissy are on a mission to find Lois's sister Lucy, and Jonathan and Jordan become more and more unsettled as Clark's painful visions continue. Meanwhile, Lana, Kyle, and Sarah share a family breakfast and discuss Sarah's upcoming quinceanera. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Lastly, Natalie and her father share a bonding moment. So yeah, last episode, as I said, what a doozy. Definitely through this season, a curveball, and not just like a normal curveball, like a planet-sized windmill, tornado, going everywhere curveball. Like, wow. And I think we are all curious as to how this will play out, considering we all thought it was going one way, the way they were leading us down with Doomsday and everything like that. And now we're presented with Bizarro, who, I mean, should never be cancelled out as a potential villain for the show, but when you have something going like Krang, and cranging their way from beneath the earth and up through the mines in a containment suit, your mind only heads one direction, and that's of course Doomsday. Now, I think in the end of last episode he said mum or mother when entering the Fortress of Solitude, and of course Bizarro always says the opposite, and is the opposite. He has ice vision and heat breath, for example, rather than heat vision and ice breath. So that's why his eyes were shining blue for the ice vision rather than red like Superman with the heat vision. I think the only thing from memory that he says correctly where you don't think the opposite when he says it is when he says that he's actually Bizarro. He's actually correct when he says that. But also, correct me if I'm wrong in regards to if he says anything else correctly and not the opposite. But of course, throughout the series going forward, if it is they're just doing straight up Bizarro, yes, he means no, and vice versa. So when he says mother or mum, we should be thinking that he's meaning father or dad. Now, of course, the fortress is where Jor-El was, within up until the back half of last season before Morgan Edge decided to break the crystal. And seeing he went straight there, it makes you think that maybe Bizarro is from another Earth in the multiverse, or maybe he went through a similar child as our Kal-El. Or even just the Bizarro world has that same upbringing and everything like that if he is from there. But if he is not from Bizarro world and he went through some other process, he has this normal upbringing like Kal-El, goes through the same thing, and then something happens. So maybe he was a Superman that was changed. I think this story will be interesting and not very predictable. So actually, I'm not going to overly look at the comics and go, okay, well, this happened with Bizarro here, so they're going to adapt that. Because not a lot of things just adapt something straight. They add their own flavor to it. So I'd expect the same here, and especially they went, and completely 720 no-scoped us with that reveal in the last episode and baiting and switching us with Doomsday and then this. I'm not going to make any solid guesses for what's to come, because I think it's just going to be very twisty and turny, but in the best way possible. And another quick thing to add, this is actually Pagey from the future from when I recorded what you just heard, but I'm inserting myself here just so I'm not coming off like, oh, Mr. Smarty Pants who figured it out, if figured all this out by himself. So a couple of people messaged me on both Instagram and Twitter and told me that what we're actually seeing with Bizarro is that he's actually talking in reverse. So he's not talking the opposite, he's talking in reverse. So in that first scene when half of the mask is off thanks to Steel blasting it off, what he says is, he says something like, oh yeah, whatever it is. But when you reverse it, it says, leave me alone. I'll play the clip right now. And then when he goes to the Fortress of Solitude at the end of the episode, we think he says mum or something like that, which would be the opposite of dad, which makes sense because it's the Fortress of Solitude and that's where Jor-El was, and that would be the opposite, mum, dad. But in fact, he says home. So watch that clip right now. So it seems they're changing up Bizarro from like the version most people would know, where now he's talking in reverse rather than saying the opposite. So that will be fun for anyone that wants to reverse the scenes going forward until maybe the characters on the show figure that out. Now the trailer really does focus in on the fallout from that bizarre reveal and how Clark and all the peeps on the Kent farm are reacting to all of this and their next plan of, I don't know if it's attack, but just dealing with this whole thing. But also Lieutenant Mitch Anderson, the DOD, they're going to be dealing with it as well. Now Clark is still going through these head pains and visions, and at the end of last episode, Bizarro appeared to have them as well, and I do wonder, are they playing off the similar thing we saw in Batwoman? And yeah, Batwoman, you might think, oh, Superman and Lois isn't going to adapt anything from Batwoman, but just hear me out. So for those that don't know, Batwoman did a story for a part of their first season after Crisis on Infinite Earth, so after the Earth's merge and everything like that, where there were two versions of Beth Kane who on our Earth had become Alice, or Red Alice, or whatever you want to call her. And this, of course, is Kate Kane's sister. But they were experiencing head pains, like the two Beths were experiencing head pains, and they were both slowly dying, as only one could be on this Earth. So there's a storyline about whether one sacrifices the other, or they try and find a means as to whether both of them can live. So while Superman and Lois might not be doing the exact same thing, where maybe Superman and Bizarro are dying and there has to be some solution to it all because only one can stay here, that could be why they have the head pains, and maybe it leads to another outcome, whether that is going crazy or something along those lines. I don't know whether death would be it, because Superman doesn't seem to be getting weaker. He just seems to be unable to control his emotions, if not losing his emotions and losing his sanity. Now, I think the showrunner for Superman and Lois, that being Todd Helbing, did say that there was still crisis-related things to play out on the show going forward. But I think most of us thought that would be like changes in characters and canon that they can do post-Crisis, like we were seeing with Lucy Lane. They're changing her because Crisis happened. She was only in season 1 of Supergirl like almost a decade ago. So there's a lot of playroom there. You can change things if you want to. And of course, we'll talk about Lucy in a second in this video. But yeah, so do you think we are seeing something similar to that Batwoman Crisis stuff with Bizarro and Superman, where because both of them are there, they're feeling the effects of that? Or do you think it could be something completely different? Let me know. Now in the trailer, it has Lieutenant Anderson looking to be sending his Supermen of America, including Tag Harris, off to take on Bizarro. And you'd have to think these are the most expendable group of people outside of Tag Harris. So will Bizarro kill all of them, or maybe just some of them? Like, it's going to be interesting to see whether there are any, because they set him up to be this character, or they made us believe there was, that he was this character. Are there going to be any like Doomsday tendencies with this character? But like when he emerged last episode, he didn't really seem like he was desperate to kill those soldiers there. He just sort of flipped a truck. Like if that was Doomsday, he'd just go and like crush their heads or something like that. But then when he was in the mines, he killed those miners, but I guess it was more contained and they were in the way of him going up. It's hard to tell what Bizarro will and won't do. And also it makes you wonder, will Bizarro be the season-long villain? Like, is he powerful enough or able to use his power enough where, Superman just can't take him down somewhat quickly? But I guess the head pains and the visions will be that, roadblock, if you want to call it, to taking down Bizarro. But then again, Bizarro seems to be experiencing those head pains as well. So it's a bit of a tricky one to think up and see where they're going to go. But one thing I'm curious about with Bizarro and the future of the season, whether it's the entire season or not, is blue kryptonite. So blue kryptonite is just what green kryptonite is to our Superman. So blue kryptonite can affect Bizarro pretty heavily. And I wonder if there's going to be a twist to the story, because we see his necklace, and that's like sort of different than the necklace that he has in the comics for the most part. So I wonder if there's a twist to the story and the necklace has the blue kryptonite within it, but it can only like affect him when it's opened up, because they could have it that like the necklace is cased in lead. So I know it's the case in Smallville, actually. I'm trying to think, is it the case in the comics as well? I think it is. I might be wrong. You might have to correct me. But if kryptonite is covered in lead, it doesn't affect Superman. It only affects him if he's like exposed to it. But if it's covered in lead, then it's not. I might be wrong on that. I think that's the case in Smallville, and that's why I'm thinking that's the case. But they could do that here, where the necklace has the blue kryptonite in it, but it's just cased in lead, and that's why it doesn't affect Bizarro at that point. But yeah, I'm very curious to see where they go, and they might set up and explain some stuff in this upcoming episode in regards to the Bizarro thing, or they might leave that for a later episode. Not too sure. I have to wait and see. It depends, because I don't know if they're having like a mid-season break for this show, even if it's just like 3 or 4 weeks, which could be after episode 7, but maybe they might leave the reveal for a bit, especially if Bizarro is going to go the entire season. But as I said earlier, Lucy Lane is back, or the synopsis had it as well, and Ali, the leader of that inverse theory cult, has arrived in not in Superman, but arrived in Smallville to shape up Lois. But Lucy is back in this episode, and as the synopsis does say, both Lois and Chrissy go and find her. So I would assume they maybe find her like around the halfway point of the episode, something like that, and are able to attract her back to Smallville. We know, or led to believe, that Lucy is a recurring character this season, apparently, so she'll be in more than just this episode, and it looks like she comes back to Smallville. So yeah, they go grab her, whether it's forcibly or she agrees to come and bring her back to Smallville, and then maybe some more drama can ensue from that point. The last thing that's not in the trailer really, but I'm very curious to see where it goes, is Jonathan taking X-Kryptonite. So are we going to get 2 Superboys, 2 children of Superman, one who gets like natural abilities, that being Jordan, and one that gets artificial abilities through X-Kryptonite in the form of Jordan? Are we going to get that, or are we just going to get one proper Superboy in the form of Jordan and an addict, a drug addict, in the form of Jonathan? I don't know which way they're going to go. They could go the positive route where it's 2 Superboys, or they could go the bit of the dramatic and emotional route, which is, Jonathan gets addicted to the X-Kryptonite. But it also depends, like if you take it the way that like the other quarterback dude, Timmy, is taking it, do you actually get powers, or does it just like sort of, it gives you like that healing factor? Maybe it just depends how much you take. So if you take a lot, you start to develop powers, like we saw with that guy in episode 2 who was fighting Superman. And maybe if you only take a tiny bit, it just sort of heals you a bit more and makes you feel a bit stronger, rather than like overly, you can kill someone strong with your bare hands. So I'm curious to see where they go. But yeah, guys, that's it to talk about from this trailer. Let me know your various comments or various opinions in the comment section down below. Might I say, if you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like, and it shows support. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Let's look forward to next week's episode. But until then, I'll catch you later, and goodbye.